So, brother, this is why you keep gaining weight back, and it is not what you think. So, this video will be for you. If you are a man that has lost weight and keeps gaining it back, you've tried several different diets. Maybe it's carnivore, it's keto, it's maybe vegan, it's Whole30, it's paleo, all these different diets. And every single time you have tried the diet, it's been successful, you've lost some weight, you've done really well on it, and then all of a sudden something hits where something happens and you fall off your diet, and then all of a sudden you gain the weight back, or you get all the way through the diet and you quickly gain the weight back when you introduce other foods back into your diet. So contrary to what you might believe, it's not the certain foods that are taking you off track. It's not your discipline. It's not your willpower. You've proven several times that you can stick to a diet, that you have discipline, right? So it's not actually any discipline issue. It's the diet itself and some other things. It's not, we're not going to play victim here and say, oh, it's all the diet. Diets have a role to play, but in this video, I'm going to go deeper into what is going on below the surface. It's a little bit about me. When I was really struggling with food and in this cycle of losing and gaining weight, got weight back constantly, yo-yoing up and down, trying different diets, yada, yada. I went from 169 up to 218. So just about 50-pound swing when I was just like in the bulk of really, really struggling with food and struggled with lack of discipline around food and it really being a problem for me. So from there, I have been able to lose 20 pounds of that and keep it off. There was also a element of this where I've trained a lot. I've gained a lot of muscle in this process as well. So body composition compared to when I was 195 5 years ago versus now is pretty. So first, what does this cycle look like of what gaining weight back or losing the weight and gaining the weight back looks like? Okay, it looks like locking in, saying, all right, it's time for me to lock in. I've got to get this figured out. I've got to go on a diet. I've got to lose this weight, because you might have an event in mind that you want to lose for. You might have some type of health goal, or it's just strictly like, I hate the way I look in the mirror. That was me. I hated the way I looked in the mirror. I just wanted to have abs. I thought abs would solve my entire life. I thought that everything was just going to be solved when I got abs and got a girlfriend. Like that was it. I thought that my life was going to be solved from there. So when you start locking in, what happens from here is you might have a couple great weeks. Like you feel really good, you're highly motivated, and everything seems to be clicking on all cylinders. You're just so dialed, you're focused. You feel really, really good. And then all of a sudden, some type of social event happens. It might be a night out with family. It might be some type of dinner, let's say a work dinner, just a family dinner in general. Not even anything super crazy. It could be some big life event that happened. And then all of a sudden from this event, social event, life event, whatever, you have, it completely kicks you out of your diet, because with that, you have eaten some type of bad food, or you've celebrated a little bit too much, went off the rails, and then from there, it's derailed you for a week, and maybe even a month, maybe even you never even hopped back on, just because this one night, you thought you were just such a failure for falling off your diet and not sticking to the plan that you weren't able to dissociate and be like, all right, no, it's just one night. You have completely looked at yourself as a moral failure because you couldn't stick to it 100% and be perfect with it. So that is really the cycle. And then from there, because of you got the lock-in, you end up having something happens, you end up destroying food, overeating, falling off plan. And then with that, you have some guilt and shame that builds up from that. You're anxious about what you did. You hate yourself for what you did and asking yourself, why do I keep doing this? And then with that guilt and shame, you try to restrict. And restricting looks like when Monday comes around after the weekend, after that event, you decide, hey, I'm either going to not eat breakfast or I'm going to be super, super dialed. I'm going to eat pretty light. I've got to make up for what happened over this weekend. And then what this does is actually sets you up. It could be just leading into your daily life from there, where at night you've restricted so much during the day, you have lost your willpower by the end of the day. And snacking, you're raiding the cupboards. You feel like a bottomless pit. You can't stop eating from there. It feels almost uncontrollable because you have restricted a lot throughout the day trying to make up for this weekend or this event that now you've lost all willpower. You've lost all your discipline. So now I want to get into, okay, why do these diets fail in the first place? Why have you continuously lost weight and then gained it back after doing these, what I like to call them, restrictive diets? And why they're restrictive is they call you, or they tell you that you need to cut out a certain food or a specific macronutrient. In carnivore or keto's case, you have to cut out all carbs. Carbs are bad for you. Carbs are going to be what makes you fat. They're going to make you gain weight. And then another example of a restrictive diet would be a paleo is also pretty keto, I believe, as well. What else? Carnivore being restrictive and like you can't have, down to vegetables and fruits and like only meat. So it's either you're cutting out a certain macronutrient or you're cutting out specific foods. Whole30, that all processed foods, anything that has processed sugar in it or is in a bag, anything, you have to cut that out entirely. And then there's other rules on top of that. So that's what I mean by restrictive diet, either a specific macronutrient or a specific food. And what this restriction does is it puts you ultimately, when we're talking about fat loss overall, what it does is, in order for you to lose fat, lose weight, is a calorie deficit. That's it. You are burning more calories, more energy than you are consuming. That is really it in the grand scheme of things. That's like first principles nutrition right there. And why these diets have you lose weight is because they put you in a calorie deficit, because you cut out a certain macronutrient or you've cut out a certain food. And a lot of times the foods these processed foods are very calorie dense. They're really easy to overeat on. So, but here's the other big problem with these restrictive diets is they become a binary. It's either I'm doing good because I'm eating all of the foods that are in this category. If we're talking carnivore or keto, it's just the meat, it's the butter, it's if we're just keto, just all vegetables, no fruit or no extra carbs or anything. And then bad category would be all those things that I just named, right? If you're on carnivore, it would be any type of fruit and vegetable, bad. Or if you're just on keto, any type of, let's say, a potato. Or if you're on Whole30, what would be bad is, let's say, a cookie or whatever, right? So you have this good and bad, or you also have this binary of locked in or on or off, and then locked in or failing. So it's this binary system that you're creating of like it's either good or it's bad, and that's it. It's adding this like moral layer to food, and I get it. I'm not saying that these foods are good. Let me be clear. I'm not saying these foods are good necessarily, but what I'm saying is see them for what they are. They are foods that have more calories in them. They are foods that they might have more preservatives in them. So could it be smart to avoid them more, but attached to something else other than just weight loss, which we'll get into? Yes. So let me be clear. I'm not saying that, it doesn't even matter. I do think that we go a little overboard with some of these things sometimes. We do more damage just worrying about what we eat if we're very large majority of the time eating really well. But little side quest there. So let's get back on here. This binary. of it's either good or it's bad. That's another reason why these diets fail. And if you have something bad, what happens is you have like this guiltiness, this shame for having this bad food that now as soon as it goes back to the cycle that we talked about toward the beginning is, oh, I've had the bad food, I failed, I suck, I'm gonna gain all the weight back, and then now you're fearful of gaining weight. I just remember, when I was really deep into this mindset, the biggest story that I can remember, and I've told it several times in my other videos, is being at BJ's Brewhouse, and there's appetizers on the table, and my family is all around, and I'm looking at this appetizer on the table, and I can't get over the fact that I really, really want it. But I'm telling myself it's bad. Like, you cannot have that. It's off your plan. If you eat it, you're gonna gain all the weight back that you've lost, and you're gonna get fat, or whatever. All the things that I was telling myself then were like, most importantly, it wasn't even about that. And like, I don't think that you should have that. You shouldn't be worrying about food that much, one. And two, I was missing out on these moments with my family around me. So I was more focused and more obsessive about food around me than actually just like being there with my family. So like that is a major problem in that case. So that's the binary, ultimately, what I was just talking about. Good and bad foods, and on or off. You're on when you're completely perfect, you're 100% on the diet, everything that you said that is good, and then you're off if you have something just slightly off the plan, or and then that spirals you into eating other things, right? Or just completely overeating in general, uncontrollably. So what's going on here is the system of this binary of this good and this bad is broken. I've found that the more that I've been able to get away from this mindset of like good and bad, on and off, locked in, failed, that I don't worry about it nearly as much, and I just happen to pick the right foods because I'm just not obsessing over them. So getting over this binary and realizing that it's not so black and white. There's some gray area, and that, discipline in itself does not mean I'm only eating this foods or I'm only staying on this exact diet to a T. And if I don't, I'm undisciplined. No, discipline is actually just being able to say no when your values and your standards are being challenged in some way, and then being able to say no. Or there are those moments where you're like, no, that's not in my best interest right now, because it's not going to lend me to being a better husband. It's not going to lend me to being able to serve at a higher level those around me, right? Or what I do in my work. So the binary needs to be broken, because it's not that black and white. And when I broke that was absolutely huge for me. And so what else is going on here is you don't really know how to handle imperfection. If you're watching this and you've made it this far, you have very high standards of yourself. I have very, very high standards for myself. I can beat myself up when I'm not meeting those things to an absolute T. It's this all or nothing mindset that I've referenced several times now. And that when these standards are not hit and I'm not being perfect to them, it can create that same, it's guilt, it's that shame, it's you failed, rather than, okay, something, I didn't achieve that. What happened? Why did I not get to that point? Or how did I get here instead? Right? Almost detaching from the emotion and just trying to figure out, okay, how could I have done better here? And also realizing that I am not perfect. I will never be perfect. There's one perfect person in this world, and that is Jesus. I will not be perfect with my diet. I will not ever have the amount of discipline that I need or anything. So accepting that yes, my standards are very high, but detaching from those standards and realizing that like I will fall because I'm a human being. There's an element of grace here that is very much needed. And it has done very, very well for me in my journey in helping me keep weight off ultimately. So layer 3 here is food is filling a role that it was never meant to fill. There is an element of escapism that you're having with food right now. It could be work related. You know, one of my clients, he told me that whenever he works from home and he might swipe by the kitchen, and as he's driving by the kitchen, he will grab some chips out of the bag because, you know, he's stressed out about something going on with work. He is in a time period with his work where other people are getting laid off, and he's got more responsibility now. So there's a lot more on his plate. So what he's doing is he's grabbing food to numb that a little bit, numb that stress, numb that anxiety that he has going on with an added layer of responsibility, and also probably an added layer, honestly, of what might happen if I get laid off. So there's this emotional aspect of using food to numb and escape something else deeper going on. And it does go back to this guilt and the shame of falling off the diet, looking at yourself as a failure. Why can I not do this? Why can I not stay on? And then using food to numb it. And really, first principles there, using food to get you to a certain state. You're in a lower state of fear. And then all of a sudden, food, what does food do for us? It's very cultural. You know, I'll give you another example of this is you know, for me, food was a sense of love, right? My last name in itself, being a Dittmer, is you love food. Like, you connect with our family through food, and you're you're not even a Dittmer if you don't love food. Like, that's kind of my conditioning around food overall. And then there's this element of like, me and my aunt would always bond over having the sweet tooth of the family. When I would get around when I would get around that family and my aunt and uncle would be visiting town, everyone would be like, oh, you know, Tyler and Jamie are up for some dessert. And I'd always be like, Jamie, make some cookies, like something like that, where, you know, if I've got something really stressful going on and there's an uncomfortable feeling going on, or worry or anxiety, that food is really easy to escape from that for me, because there's this sense of certainty in there. What does food do for me? So like, there are some deep rooted things in there as well. So I want to get into, you know, what actually works here. So I talked a little bit about first principles nutrition. It's coming back to a calorie deficit. It's not about trying to eliminate a certain food. It's not about carbs making you fat. It's not about the cookies or the bread or dessert or anything that are making you fat. Like, it's not the food themselves is what I mean. Yes, they can be easily overeaten on. So what that's going to do is make you gain weight back, right? Especially if you're going through this cycle of doing a restrictive diet just to lose weight, and then as soon as you lose all that weight, you go back to eating how you were before, and you didn't learn any skill of how to lose fat and integrate these foods into diet. So and keep the weight off in that regard. So that lends me to my next point is food integration. You know, being able to build the skill of how can I enjoy the foods that I like and have them be part of this standard and this value that I have for myself, my family, and how I serve in my community and in my business and my job, whatever it is for you. Being able to integrate that and then building this confidence of, okay, I can lose fat and have these things without it being so black and white. Like, that is a very freeing thing, knowing that, oh, no, I can have a little bit and also be just fine. And there's another element of this, like, I got so deep into this with of thinking that it was certain foods were so bad, or I was going to gain weight if I ate certain foods, or I had certain foods that I would just always reach for when I got into this cycle. It was like, there was some type of event that would happen that I'd start destroying some food, and then all of a sudden from there I would open some floodgates. And for me, from there, once I was in this state of like uncontrollable hunger and not being able to stop myself from eating, peanut butter was a big one for me. And I actually hired a coach around this time when I finally, I got sick of this. I was like, dude, I have to do something about this. My coach actually made me, on a daily basis, every day, intentionally have a spoonful of peanut butter. And what that did for me, of just forcing myself to have a little bit of it completely, within a month, I just stopped caring about peanut butter. It was the wildest thing. Instead of because I was so restricted of it, saying it was bad, I couldn't have it until I was already in those states of shame and guilt, and then using the food to numb it. It was, no, this is no longer a binge food for me. It's just I'm gonna have a little bit. So that's an element of food integration as well. And then another element to this is your next meal response. And it goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of, starting Monday, and then Monday happens, or restarting on Monday, and then Monday comes around and you either fast for breakfast or you eat really light, intentionally light, because you've got to make up for what happened. And then that lends you to snacking later in the day, right? Because you've lost willpower. Getting rid of that and just saying, okay, I have to forget this and just move past and understand that it's one day out of 365. It's one meal out of 21 in the week or whatever. I totally get it. It sounds backwards, and it takes everything in you I still have this. Last weekend, I went off plan a little bit with my diet. And when I say diet, I'm not doing any type of restricted diet. I mean how I normally eat. That's my diet. I understand how I normally eat. And I went off a little bit because we had some time with our friends, and I knew that I overate, and I knew that I indulged a little bit more than I probably should have or wanted to. And it took everything in me over the next day, especially Sunday. Sunday morning, I make banana pancakes for my wife, and it took everything in me not to just totally restrict the bananas and just say, no, I'll hold off on the carbs and just eat eggs this morning and just have protein instead, because I got to make up for yesterday. It is a hard thing to do, but forcing yourself to do it, it has done wonders for me and helped me more in keeping weight off rather than any other time when I was in the cycle of losing and gaining weight. I'd say that was probably the number one thing in the time period. I tried to lose 20 pounds. When I realized I had a problem, I was at about 195, and I wanted to lose about 20 pounds because I was down to 170 before, but I gained 20 pounds in the process, almost 25 pounds in the process. I might have even gotten heavier than 218. I just remember 218 for sure. And, I gained 20 pounds in this process. And this next meal response was a big one for me. And then, so another one is building a pause. Seeing an urge to go and destroy food, or even just I've gone off plan. Let's say, you were out with your family and you decided that you did eat off your plan and you ate too much and you indulged more than you wanted to. And then that in itself right there creates this urge to go and snack more when you get home, right? Instead of immediately getting home and doing that, being able to build a pause, seeing what's going on, and then implement something else in place of that habit. Let's say it's a walk. Let's say it is some type of push-ups, air squats, moving your body, getting out of your head and into your body somehow is extremely beneficial. Even some breath work, some type of prayer, I really love the Jesus prayer, and it literally just looks like as soon as I have some type of thought come up that I know is not me, it's not, it does not lend me to my goals, let's say, and there's temptation in there. It's just, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And then I might repeat that a couple times, a bunch of times, and then pair it with some type of movement or whatever, and that in itself breaks that pattern. So building the pause is really just breaking the pattern ultimately. And this last one here is being able to anchor it to something greater than yourself, man. Like, I truly believe if you have something deep enough that you are doing this for, I'm telling you, you will never. And I ran into this issue because I was only doing it for abs. I only wanted to build confidence in myself. That was it. I hated the way I looked, and I just thought the abs were going to solve everything. So I was like, oh, I just want abs. I just want abs. I just want abs. I want to lose some fat. And that was my whole anchor. There was nothing deeper. So what did I expect that it was? Why did I expect that it was going to, that I was going to keep the weight off, or I was going to lose the weight, right? So anchoring to something much greater than yourself. Like nowadays, it's much easier. If I do fall off in some regard and I have something, I overindulge more than I want to, for me, just being able to be like, yeah, I did not, or that was not the man that I'm called to be. That was not going to lend me to being the husband that I want to be, the business owner I want to be, the coach that I need to be for my clients. Like, it doesn't allow me to show up my best. And then, then you can create some type of plan of like how, and even just awareness of it happening in itself is very, very huge. Like, again, anchoring to something much greater than yourself and much deeper than yourself and a greater purpose, especially as a man. This is so important. Having a deeper purpose, even deeper than your family and what you do outside of your home, is very, very huge. So, anchoring to that and eating to that, this is where the standards and the values come in to play here. You'll find that discipline is much, much better around food. So to close here, again, my experience, I've lost 20 pounds and kept it off, 20 plus pounds and kept it off. But, I went through this time period of gaining 50 pounds. I had a 50-pound swing because I kept doing these different diets. I tried just cutting out sugar entirely, and that worked. And then it was vegan, and then it was keto, and then it was crash dieting, and then it was carnivore, and then Whole30. Like, I've tried all these different things, and every single time I got off the diet or something happened, I gained all the way back. Like, lost about 10 pounds with a couple of them, and each time I fell off because of the things that I talked about in this video, I gained the weight back really quickly. And then it was then over, like Whole30, for example, lost about 10 pounds and then gained the weight back really quickly within like a month. And then I just felt really undisciplined around nutrition and my food in general for literally a month and a half. So that's been my experience. So if you are a man who is stuck in this cycle of losing and gaining weight and feeling undisciplined with your food, and you have really high standards of yourself and you're tired of this cycle of losing and gaining weight constantly, then shoot me a DM on Instagram. Let's connect. I have my link down below in the description of this video. I'd love to connect with you, talk with you, or you can just go ahead and book a call and you say, hey, this is totally me. I need to get this figured out. You can go ahead and book a call down below as well. Other than that, please like, subscribe, leave any comments, anything that really resonated with you, anything you want to see more of, or any questions overall. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.